Welcome to another episode of the Dibbly Dobblers Cricket Podcast. As always, I am your main host, Callum, and as always, I am joined by the secondary host, dinner lady, producer, director, all-round good guy, Andrew. How's it going?
All-round good guy, that's a good addition. I like that one.
I was me subtly calling you fat, but it's alright. No, I'm just kidding.
Very round. Oh dear, yeah, I'm not bad. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I see you at least did the good job of getting your hair cut.
Yeah, I mean, you promised that we would both have haircuts for this week, and
I'm sorry, I forgot we were recording. We changed our recording day when I planned in my haircut for tomorrow.
Yeah.
At least I shaved though.
I've
so
not done
less
that,
of a
but
scruffy
they
hobo.
can't tell. So
The hat is employed instead.
Yeah.
I mean, I even just really couldn't be bothered. I've even got trackies on under this table. I've never done that before, but I was just like, I cannot be bothered. It was one of those long day at work, so it was just like, nah, we'll just go with that.
I'll go with comfort.
It might be a Speedo for all people know, you know. That'd be very disturbing. Yeah, that's right. All the people who usually listen in, straight over to the YouTube channel now. Just to
Numbers through the roof.
That's it. Jeez, oh. But we, as I say, we've changed our recording day, but we've not changed our recording time habits, unfortunately.
No, it's 23 minutes to 11 on Tuesday the 26th of April 2022.
Oh, it's still 2022. Oh, we've done well then.
I know, we've managed to record this year. We've not missed a whole season or anything.
No, that's good. But
on that note, though,
one of these days, though, we will record at a decent time. But on that note, we do have a season just about to start.
Domestic season starts Saturday.
To be honest, that's the reason for changing recording days, because we're now going to be training, or at least a lot of Thursdays. So that doesn't really work for us anymore. So we've got action kicking off. I mean, I don't know I think we've officially said it on the podcast before, but our main focus is on the SPCU area.
As the region that we live and play in. So
Caledonia region or Cali region. I'm never quite sure what they go by, but so I suppose over the course we'll predominantly be focusing on sort of like EPL and NEC sort of standard. There's only two of us. We can't deal with 4 Saturday leagues. And we'll do cup competitions. We'll see.
I mean, we could probably look at Div 1 because that's the one we're playing in. So, but yeah, just through personal
it would be
experience.
An absolute bias chat every single. I'd be like, "Oh mate, I got into this absolute deadly ball." No one needs to know it was a rank full toss.
Yeah. Will we do like updates on our figures through the year?
On updates for our figures, what are you challenging me to like? Well,
No,
if we're close on the runs, I'm going to be absolutely greeting. But I don't know. See, especially at this standard, I'm a dibbly dobbler at some levels. I don't know if I am at Div 1 standards. So yeah, it'll just be the usual. It'll be back to days of old when I used to bowl left arm seam. No non-neutral umpires, so you get no LBWs. Everything is apparently pitching outside leg. And then pie chuckers like you will come on.
Oh, that is harsh.
On the pies. Absolute filth getting thrown out.
I'm not saying it's not absolute filth, but it's not pies.
No, you gave out the pie. Gave out the pie chucking. Don't know about the pies. But you'll just come on. Folk will be spooning it up in the air to you, and
be beautiful.
Absolutely greeting. You'll have dropped 14 of my catches in the run up to that. I'll be chasing you around trying to impale you on a stump.
Yeah. So season starts this Saturday.
But it does start this Saturday.
It does. Yeah.
Well, not for me because I'm actually down in England. But very inconvenient. But for most people, including yourself.
Indeed. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
I think our club's got the usual, still hunting down an 11, but I'm sure we'll get there by Might be a long drive back from Scarborough for me on Saturday.
Just abandon the family wedding to come and play.
Absolutely. The wedding's on the Friday. So
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
right. Well,
like,
what's your excuse?
Well, we'd booked the accommodation before I knew what I was doing this season.
Just get yourself back up the road the first thing Saturday.
Know how much the Airbnb cost, I'll know be.
Yeah.
Should have gone for the travel lodge.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll probably touch on our own personal Div 1 experiences. And I suppose if there are any notable moments in the other two divisions, I suppose we'll probably bring those up. But
Yeah.
I think as a main focus, it'll be sort of the clubs from... I don't think we're going to try and do the whole EPL. I think we'll just kind of really be focusing in on the specifics of the clubs who are SPCU region clubs but are competing in the EPL and the NEC, which, for those who are not aware, the NEC is one of the feeder leagues into the EPL. The winner or the highest finishing team eligible to go into the EPL competes in a playoff against the ESCA championship winners. I think it's championship. So yeah.
Yeah. So where are we starting?
Where are we starting? Is there some graphics or something?
There is, but are we starting with the NEC or the EPL?
Oh, EPL.
EPL.
Yeah,
Right,
we'll go for the top.
So we're going to bring up the fixtures for those of you watching on YouTube. You'll be able to see that of the SPCU clubs. We've got 4 SPCU clubs that are in the EPL. 2 of them are facing off against each other. We've got Stonywood Dice playing Forfarshire. Falkland.
Newly promoted Falkland?
Yeah, newly promoted. I was trying to find the words for that.
All right. This is the joys of recording at this hour.
Indeed. But they are at home to Carlton, and Arbroath United are at home to Heriots.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, is it Champions Heriots? I'm now trying to remember if that is actually the case, but I might have my seasons mixed up. But
yes,
anyway.
it was.
It was, yeah.
Champions,
I was going to say.
Heriots won the EPL, and Carlton won the T20.
And upset a whole lot of people on Sunday in the west of Scotland, particularly in the Paisley area. But we'll not talk about that.
Indeed.
There was a boy that wouldn't start ranting on Twitter about it, but that's okay. So we've got Stonywood Dice, Forfarshire. We'll just go down the list. So yeah, two clubs from the region that we're concerned with. So last year, 2021, Forfarshire quite comfortably won both games against Stonywood. The first, and to be honest, pretty similar scores in both. Stonywood were bowled out in both games for roughly 120, and Forfarshire, without much bother, chased them both down.
Yeah.
So
and Forfarshire, worth mentioning, were the last season before the pandemic kicked in. They were the champions of everything.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is, in this area, really, they've been the ones carrying the torch. Really, they've kind of been the ones able to compete up against the Edinburgh sides, really, the big Edinburgh clubs. So, I mean, realistically, I think one of the advantages for Stonywood Dice is that Stonywood Dice have got 2 overseas players in, which does tend to make a bit of a difference to their squads. You know, they are a club that, while they have produced some good domestic talent over the years, they are still a club that probably do need that. You know, whereas Forfs will probably might not even have. I did notice Bryce Alchin's name was down on one of their sheets, but I don't know if he actually played at the weekend. But so I'm not sure if he's over as an overseas amateur. I know he's been around the country for a few years, so I don't know if he's now qualified or how that works specifically. But whereas Force are a club that are deep in domestic talent, and actually probably the pandemic didn't affect them as badly as some clubs, because they kind of were like, well, our squad's no different. Whereas someone like Stonywood, who do tend to bring in 2 overseas players, it really did hit them. So they've got 2 overseas signings in Dupree's Stander and Gareth Walmerans, I believe. I'm not sure if my Afrikaans pronunciations are right.
Sounded good.
That sounded good to me, yeah. Walmerans was here in 2019, so he's a return now, but Dupree's Stander, and they both had quite good... Stonywood Dice played Pollock and Clydesdale at the weekend. Quite good wins, and it looks like their overseas guys are already seem to have settled in. So that could make a big difference to them. But I think realistically, up against Force, I would imagine you're still looking at Forths winning that one.
Yeah, I mean, they've got all their Scotland players and that available to them at the moment.
I'd assume so, certainly. I don't know. Michael Least, I don't know if he was playing in any of the friendlies, but he'll be returning to his old...
Yeah, I mean, from insider knowledge, I know he's been about in the nets and things.
Oh,
so,
insider knowledge, yeah, Andrew. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew's a local known peeping Tom, so
yeah,
that's what it is.
Stand in the school grounds at Fort Hill and...
Well, it was nice recording this podcast, but we're allowed to do so. So I'd be expecting Forths really to probably take that one, but at the same time, I could see it being a bit more of a contest than what it was last season, where it was two pretty one-sided ones. I think overall as well, Stonywood will... I would imagine I can see them having a better season than what they probably had last year. And they have also signed Nathan Elliott from Aberdeenshire, who took the best bowling figures in the NEC last year with 7 for 30. I think I've remembered that correctly off the top of my head. So
it's a good effort.
Decent effort.
Can you remember who it was against? No.
Stonywood. I'm pretty sure, actually.
Against their twos.
I think it was.
Right.
So, that could be totally wrong. It's 7 for 30. I think it was Stonywood, though, because I think when I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
That's probably why they've gone after him. So they've kind of bolstered their ranks a wee bit there. But yeah, I think we'll still be
something they probably needed to do.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they've got some good talent there. So I think I would imagine their ambition this year is probably to try and cement a mid-table kind of spot. Who knows? Maybe it'll get someone on from Stonywood as the season progresses. And if you are from Stonywood, Dow's Cricket Club or Forths and want to speak to us, let us know. Get in touch.
Absolutely.
At DibDobPod. If you're on YouTube, it's down on the screen.
Yeah.
Or drop us a comment on the YouTube comments. Is that right, Andrew?
Indeed,
Is it comments?
It is comments, yeah.
I am sold. But anyway. So, next up, the new boys. Falkland. Well, new boys returning. I mean, they've been there before, so it's not like they're new boys. But yeah, they promoted side in Falkland versus Carlton.
Yeah, tough test for them first up. Carlton, very decent side.
Yeah, one of Scotland's big clubs. So, I mean, I've got to be honest, I don't really hold out much hope for Falkland in this one as much as...
No, I think, it's a tough start to their return to the Eastern Premier League. They probably will have a few days where it is going to be tough for them. Ultimately, their aim going into this season is to maintain their status as a Premier League side. They're probably, if form is something to look at, it's probably going to be Stu Mellor, their biggest direct rival.
I would imagine if Stonywood do manage to kick on a little bit like I could see them being able to do it, because I think it looks like they've strengthened. Stu Mellor and Falkland, I would imagine, are the big ones. Although I think Stu Mellor have actually made a couple of signings as well. I think they Fulham were playing West of Scotland at the weekend, and I mean got pretty thumped. They chased 170 down in about 26 overs. And I think that probably highlights what I see as being the big concern for Falkland this year. I think their seam bowling department, I mean, okay, they were pretty dominant over a league that I played in last year, but I think they were a bowling department, a seam bowling department that survived well enough at NEC level. And, I mean, they've got plenty of good spinners there. Got Harsha, Brock, Lyle.
I saw Lyle actually had a good performance with the bat.
He had the 90 at the weekend.
Off about, 104 balls or something
like that. Not far off a run of balls. So it was a good effort. They're probably going to, even with the bat, they're probably going to come up against it. But they do have a few guys in there that can score runs. But it's the seam bowling. I can see there was a couple of rumours of them maybe being linked with guys that you're kind of hearing through the grapevine, and that doesn't ever seem to have come to anything. And I think that, just kind of... They've got decent spinners, but are the spinners going to be coming on a situation where actually the opponent is well on top, especially against the bigger clubs, against your Carltons and the likes. But, obviously still supporting a club from this area, so hopefully they can pick up. Because realistically, 3 or 4 wins over the course of the year, and you're probably staying up. So and that's what they got to be targeting. So yeah, but I'm not fancying their hopes. Even though they're at home, I still just think this will be a one-sided contest. And speaking of one-sided contests, we move on to Arbroath versus Heriots. I mean, Forths were comfortable against Stonywood last year. I mean, Heriots, again, bizarrely, it was almost like repeat scorecards. Heriots won by 163 and 169 runs last year. Arbroath were bowled out for 181, 177, and on both occasions, Heriots scored above 340.
Yeah. So,
including a Matty Cross double century last year. I mean, Heriots, I would imagine, are probably starting out as favourites in that league again. You know, just the depth of Scotland talent that they seem to have. They will be missing at points in the season.
Yeah, Scotland have got a busy schedule this year. That's going to work against Heriots.
Yeah. So that will work against them, but they should equally. They've got some very, very good cricketers who are not involved in the Scotland stuff. So, but I would imagine they're going to have the guys around this week at least. So, I'm not aware that Arbroath. I think Arbroath do have 2 overseas guys, but I couldn't actually see anything on what sort of standard these guys were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think realistically Arbroath are not quite the Arbroath team. But what they did do last year, Arbroath, to their credit, is they beat the guys who were below, kind of in and around them and below them, and so they
kept
did
themselves safe.
Yeah, they struggled against the clubs the size of Heriots and things, and did suffer some heavy losses, but they beat the guys that needed to and cemented themselves. And I would expect that that's probably what they're looking to do again this year. So yeah, I think we'll have a Forths win. I mean, we're guaranteed an area winner in the first game, but I'm not holding out much hope for guys.
I would agree with that.
So on to the NEC.
Let's bring up those fixtures then. So
Andrew, your fixtures has got a small F. What's that all about? That's awful.
Oh well.
That's terrible. I just realised it wasn't on the screen yet, but
it is now.
Look, all these people, they're all ashamed of you, Andrew.
Nothing new.
You're going to have to get a new producer in, mate.
It's actually annoying me as well because I didn't really have time to format it correctly. All the V's should line up in a line up the middle.
Oh.
Well, next week.
Yes.
Next week we'll have tables rather than just
people feel free to give Andrew abuse about his lack of formatting.
Yeah. So first up there, our former side, Perth took it against Arbroath United. Second 11.
Yep. I'd have to talk about him. No, I'm just kidding. So we had Rory on, and he was sort of talking about some batting improvements that they've made, and I think that will probably make a big difference for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
They do kind of always had a decent bowling attack, and actually, I think we've sort of had this discussion off air. It is actually kind of difficult to see how they fit all their bowlers in without having an unnecessary tail when you don't really need it, when pretty much all of your spin bowlers can bat that they have. So, So I suppose that'll be interesting to see how they manage that side of things. I was playing for Ducat last year, and Arbroath sort of had a bit of a mixed bag of kind of availability. And they're a second 11. They're always at the mercy of what the availability for the ones is. So I'd imagine, it's particularly with their batting improvements, Usman's a big return for them, the overseas pro. Yeah. I would expect Ducat probably to fairly comfortably be winning that, unless some of these new batsmen will take a little bit of time to settle into Scottish wickets, because I think a few of them haven't played much.
Well, Usman's obviously played a lot of cricket over here.
Yeah.
The other boy they've picked up, Babar, I believe, has played a reasonable amount of cricket in the West as well.
Oh, right, okay.
So I don't think that should be too much of an issue. I don't know if their overseas amateur is here yet.
I believe he was meant to be here for this game, but I don't know whether he definitely is. But
he'll certainly have some
it
time
might be
to
a bit
acclimatise.
different from Mumbai University. So,
yes, it might be.
But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I would be imagining that will be a fairly comfortable victory for Ducat. Dundee High School former pupils against Meagle.
Yep.
I don't think Meagle could ask for a much easier return to the league, as much as Dundee High might not like me saying so.
No, I mean, Dundee High are going into this year trying to avoid bottom spot. That's something they didn't do last year.
Yeah, and Meagle really kind of have this, if not arguably a stronger team this year than what they had last year.
Yeah, I would say so.
With the return of Raju, and they've got an overseas amateur.
Yeah, we ran a poll on our Twitter page over the weekend as to who you, the listeners and viewers and Twitter people, thought would win the NEC, and Meagle sort of ran out comfortable winners on that poll, and that's probably the way I see it as well. Meagle come into this year as favourites for the NEC.
Yeah, I think you would expect that. You'd expect the relegated team, especially if they can. It's not like they've lost a whole ream of players. Like Aberdeenshire, when they dropped down, you then looked at the playing 11. You're like, well, that wasn't really the Aberdeenshire who were playing in the EPL. This isn't the case with Meagle.
It's the same. It's 10 guys plus an improvement in that.
It's maybe even 9 guys plus 2 improvements. Yeah. So I think Meagle will be very strong and will be right up. I said that last week that they were who I'd be backing at this point in the season. I think it's a one-sided affair again on that one.
Probably. Forfeiture 2s against Fruki, led by Safian Sharif.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like any team at this standard that has Safi in it has to be favourites. Like,
I think they'll go into their games where they've got him as strong favourites, probably.
I mean, they had a very good seam attack last year anyway.
Yeah.
Without him, they were one of the better seam attacks. I think they've got some slower bowlers who they kind of do a job, particularly once if the seamers can get through the sort of better batsmen. They're kind of tricky to get away, but they're not giving you nightmares or anything. But yeah, I mean, if they've kind of got 3 now, 4 maybe on some days, very, very good seamers, I think Fruki will be right up there again this year.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing about this tie was actually last year, Forths won this by 1 run. And if Fruki had won that fixture, Fruki would have been in. If Fruki had found 2 more runs, they would have been in the playoff. So maybe a point to prove on that one. And that's how close Fruki were to being in the playoff. And there's every chance they may have won that as well.
So I mean, it's not like they're a one-man team with Safi. They are a strong NEC team.
Yeah,
they were title challengers last year. We'd expect them to be there or thereabouts come the end of the year. And I suppose the issue they are going to come up against is Safi's availability.
Yeah, and that's going to be an issue. But you kind of look at it and go, well, in theory, they've got a team good enough. You'd imagine that one of the key fixtures or the 2 key fixtures they probably want him for, you'd assume, are the Meagle games, because that's who you'd be looking at and going, right, well,
that's who they need to take points off.
Yeah. Particularly because they're in the same group, so we'll be playing them twice. Or section, or I have no idea what they're calling it. The fixtures are pants, but that's for another time. So then on to Gordonians and Huntly. To be honest, wasn't able to find out much about either of these 2 clubs and whether guys moved on or not. So kind of going to have to just assume that what was last season has continued this season until we know better.
There are 2 sides that we kind of expect to be sort of lower middle table.
I mean, Gordonians that were 3rd last year.
They were 3rd, right, okay.
And if, again, both Falkland, Fruki and Gordonians only lost 2 games each.
Right, okay. Gordonians will be
beat
upper middle table.
Gordonians beat Falkland, I believe, last year. I think that was. I think they were one of the 2 losses for Falkland.
Right.
I think I can't remember if I said this off air or not, but to me, Gordonians are at times in the NEC are a chronically underrated team. I mean, they've done well, and they had a sort of very good patch. don't know, 5-10 years ago kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where they were winning all sorts, including sort of T20 Cups and things. I think they largely actually have the same rough squad as that time, and that's maybe why they've slipped back a little. But I can see them being right up there. And to be fair, they weren't far away from Pip and Aberdeenshire in our Twitter poll. They kind of probably a tough group for them to come up against, because Aberdeenshire seemed, I think, because of the history, had a bit of they had a bit of support on that.
Yeah.
So Huntly's a funny one. Huntly have got some guys that played very good levels of cricket. A few of them have gone along to Stonywood Dice when they were in the EPL. Huntly's problem seems to be, while they've got some quite good cricketers at the club, actually getting them all out at the same time seems to be a real problem. But they're a definite club that are a potential banana skin for anyone.
Yeah.
But it all depends what side they get out, and I think all too often they weren't able to get their best 11 out most of the time. So I'd be backing Gordonians for that one. Strathmore versus Stonywood Dice 2s. Well, there was a bit in training in the Strathmore's friendly at the weekend. In training, Johnny Blackie managed to fracture his ankle, I believe.
Yeah, in the warm-up. Yeah.
So he'll be out this, for the start of the season anyway. But yeah, Strathmore had a decent season last year. And I'd be expecting them to carry on that. Stonywood Dice 2s, as kind of said about Arbroath 2s, they're a second 11. It's not always the easiest to say what that team will be. A couple of guys aren't available for the ones, then their 2s will look very weak. But if they have a full strength 2s, they'll be all right. But Strathmore, some very good players in there, and I'd be expecting them to kind of be in that top third. As I say, I still don't even understand how the league works this year when you could play other people and all this kind of. I don't know. But I'd be calling Strathmore on that one. And
then Aberdeenshire versus Kinloch is the last fixture.
Well, yeah, as I say, Aberdeenshire's a bit of Twitter support behind them.
Indeed.
I'd probably be expecting Aberdeenshire to have an improvement this year. They've thrashed Kinloch twice last year.
They had a bit of a mixed year last year. They? They're very sort of up and down. Some, as you say, thrashings against Kinloch, some chastening defeats at other points. But so I mean, their captain Kenny Reid finished off the season, I think, with 185 against Kinloch to close out the season. So I mean, he'll be a big player for them. They've got an overseas player, Dean Forrester, a South African overseas player coach this year. And as I mentioned earlier, they lost Nathan Elliott to Stonywood, but he kind of seems to fit that gap, and he's involved in, I think it's the Titans franchise he's involved with. So you'd probably imagine that's a slight. I mean, I don't think he's ever actually played for their first team, but even just being in the sort of setup shows he's a very good standard player. So, I'd imagine they'd be hoping for more consistency this year. I think Kinloch, particularly being in that North section. Yeah. I could see this being a bit of a rough season for Kinloch, I've got to be honest. They're going to be clocking up a lot of miles at points for what I believe is a heavily kind of Dundee-based playing squad that are now playing at Forfar. They managed to end up in the North group because they are playing at Forfar. But they are a Dundee side. I know that their youth section and all that is based out of Dundee.
So it's... And kind of looking at that, you're like, okay, Stonywood Dice 2s, if they've kind of got a weakened team. Again, Huntly, if they've not managed to put out, they might be able to put up a fight against these guys. But to be honest, the other three in that section, I'd probably be imagining would be fairly happy to be playing Kinloch. They did win the local. The slight irony of them being in the North section is they won the Cali South tape ball competition, but which kind of shows actually where they kind of sit. The two Forfar teams, unfortunately, just kind of they're geographically more in with the South guys, but just you've got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, it's 6 and 6. There's only 4 north of them, so they've got to go north, unfortunately. Yeah.
So I think predominantly you're probably going to see. Well, I think 4 home wins, 2 away wins, and your 2 aways are probably your strongest 2 teams.
Yeah.
But Forfarshire 2s, is, as I say, they won by 1 run last year, and they've some good talent in that club. So they've got cricketers who could overcome.
Yeah, and they'll have their the Scotland guys that play in their ones team, as we mentioned, are there at the moment. Yeah. So it'll be a strong second 11 that they're putting out.
Yeah, because I know when I played against them last year, that was one of the problems they had on that day. Was I think late on 2 of the ones players had to pull out for whatever reason, and all of a sudden, Richard had lost 2 guys from his 11, and then all of a sudden he was kind of like, well, it's not the true second 11, so that's always the danger. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all just praying for sunshine. I think the weather, well, certainly in this area, in the sort of Perth area, looks like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I haven't checked. I'll just see how it looks on the day.
Look out the window.
Yeah. That's the thing, you can't look out the window when you play 30 miles away. I know. It could be totally different.
Look over the hills. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. It's good. It's great just to see a normal season. The return of tees. SPCU have come out and said they expect all clubs to provide tees, which is good because I think
I'll go get my sausage rolls bought.
Sausage rolls, is that it?
Absolutely.
Is that all you're taking?
No, sausage rolls. I'll take crisps and
And what else?
And what else? That's enough to feed 2. I'll take about 10 sausage rolls because you get folk that you don't take 2 set meals.
Andrew is one of those blokes, guys.
One of those blokes. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. What are you taking?
I mean, you're meant to be a dinner lady. I mean, what would I take? Like whole loaf of bread with filling in it. I mean, that's just to feed me. So I need a second loaf of bread for the other person I'm providing for. Box of cakes, bag of biscuits, some crisps.
Aye,
a pack of sausage rolls.
I like 10 of them.
What? But I mean, that'll do. I mean, on the days I'm there, that'll do me. What, like 24 bag?
Or like a couple of big bags.
Oh, man. I don't know. I'm thinking you sound a bit stingy, Andrew. I'm not going to lie.
Right, I'll take 2 sandwiches and I'll get 2 Tesco meal deals. That's what I'll do.
No, they're the worst blokes that rock up with a meal deal. And fresh in the carrier bag. I'm like, away him. Just get a Just Eat. There must be something in Aberfeldy on Just Eat. Just like, aye.
2 fish suppers.
We're 5 overs for the end of the innings. Just get it done. Unfortunately, where we're playing, I don't think there's any power, so I don't think there'll be any hot anything. But,
I think that we can get teas, hot tea.
All right, hot tea.
I believe there's a gas heater for the water.
Oh my word! I'm not operating that.
Yeah.
But aye, so we don't have Arbroath this year.
No, we don't.
Disappointing.
Devastating.
They get a friendly. There's a free week just in the middle. See about it.
Yeah.
Saw they had a picture up on Twitter. Looked like a fine spread to start the season.
Oh, it did.
So that was good. Apparently, someone had replied saying Gordonian's teas are quite good. But Gordonian is one of these, oddly, despite playing in that league at various points, I've never actually been. Like, I've played them, but I've only ever played them like when it's been the home fixture. I had these weird Huntley when I played there last year, despite being in the same league as Huntley on numerous seasons. Just it was always the week I was away at something or whatever. It was like, oh, Huntley. So you never know. We maybe just need to take a drive up, just sample it. But all right, we're here to test you.
Oh, we're just going to start doing tea reviews.
Tea reviews, exactly. Like, not restaurant reviewers. Cricket tea reviews. Aye. See, we're just going to have to give up playing. I mean, if we do start that, I'll not be able to play because I'll be so fat that I'll not be able to move.
It's just going to become a food podcast.
I mean, I'm hungry. I'm thinking about going to McDonald's on the way home after this. Can we midnight snack?
Literally.
Probably at this rate, Christ.
No, it'll be beyond that by the time we pack up
and then, have our monologues and all that.
Indeed. Anyway,
Anyway, we're meant to be talking about cricket, Andrew. For
Indeed.
God's sake. Well, something else that happened this week that was announced was it's not actually SP. Or wait, what?
Are you going for the yeah? Go.
Go. Right,
yeah.
I'm going. I've got permission.
Yeah.
Cheers, Dad. So not actually SPCU area. This was news out of ESCA.
Yeah.
That there is going to be 4 women's and girls workshops with various members of the Scotland women's team squad.
Yeah.
3 sessions, I believe they all are.
I think so. Yeah.
I think they've got limited places and things like that. And they've got seam bowling, spin bowling, fielding, and batting.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Really great to see something being set up to really drive sort of the engagement in the women's game. This obviously in the ESCA region. But yeah, fantastic to see.
It seems to kind of be the hub of women's cricket. I mean, don't get me wrong, Edinburgh is a strong cricketing city.
Yeah.
Whatever, that in men's and women's and juniors and everything. So, but, I mean, most of the women's league teams are from Edinburgh. Carlton have a second team this year. I'm not sure for definite whether they're in the league or if they're going to be like a friendly side or what exactly. But, I mean, I think if you told somebody even 5 years ago that one of the clubs in Scotland would have 2 women's 11s, everyone would be like, no. Like, who even has an 11 would have probably been most people's response. So, credit to Carlton and the work they've done. And, I think Grange and Watsonians have split this year. They're going to run their own teams and things like that. So it's excellent to see that the game's, just growing for women. And because obviously we're trying to talk about SPCU, I suppose kind of one of the thoughts we'd had was like, well, where's women's cricket in this area? Certainly, I suppose in our local area, in the sort of Perth area. I think specifically because I'll be quite honest, I'm not 100% sure in the sort of Aberdeen area what exactly is going on in the women's game. Obviously, for people a bit who might not be quite so aware, the SPCU is a bit odd or the Cali region's a bit odd because you've got the SPCU, but then you've got the North East Cricket Association, I think.
The Aberdeen Grades.
The Aberdeen Grades. And then you've got NOSCA as well.
Yeah.
So even though we're all the Cali region, and the SPCU kind of covers large parts of that, there's also then other cricket associations within it. So it kind of all gets a bit confusing and difficult to follow. So feel free to correct us if we ever make any mistakes about anything. But yeah, we'd had a chat with Pete from Meagle about some of the women's stuff that they were doing, and we'd had a chat with Barry from Calendar about some of the collaborative working that we were doing. And we'd it did make us sort of think about the way forward for the women's game. Yeah.
I think that obviously Perth Ducat are putting a lot of effort into growing their women's section, as are Meagle at the moment. I think it would be great to see those 2 clubs come together as Watsonians and Grange did last year, and I believe the Dumfries and Galloway clubs did the same. They both came together to put a team into the Women's National League. I don't know quite what the numbers are like at Meagle, but certainly Ducat don't have enough for sort of a hardball 11. But you would like to think that between them they could sort of get towards that. And I think that would be a great development in sort of driving that forward.
Yeah, I think it's that shared resource as well. I know from, we're up at Monday night up at Ducat because the women's runs alongside the junior, or at the same time as, not that they're running together or anything. They were saying that they're growing numbers, but it seems like the hardball people who want, the women who want to play hardball isn't the same number that are doing cricket, which is fine. That's kind of part of the point in cricket. But, if you've kind of got a club that's maybe only got a few currently and another club that's got a few, well, you might all of a sudden, if you know you're near to an 11, you might all of a sudden see players who are like, oh, well, I could maybe give it a try and things like that. That seems like a sort of logical step. I mean, you're still involved at Duke, Andrew.
I am,
So
involved in the
get
youth
it sorted.
side.
So that's your task now. You're now to champion that cause.
I have suggested it, so but I'm busy with other things in the club at the moment, so that's for someone else to take on.
Well, I mean, you said you were busy standing in school playgrounds, so I don't know. What's your role at the club again, Andrew?
Yeah.
Joking. We are joking. Andrew doesn't stand in... Well, I don't know what Andrew gets up to.
No, but I am the club's child protection officer, so...
I can... Jesus.
Yeah.
Not for much longer. But
Oh, dear.
Wow. Truth hurts.
Anyway.
But anyway... but it's great to see. Great step from ESCA. Credit to them. Credit to. I mean, there must be Cricket Scotland involvement in this as well. The number of Scotland squad members that are involved. So credit to Cricket Scotland as well. But yeah, and it's just fantastic to see the women's game going from strength to strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the country. So credit to those involved, and hopefully that can start to branch out across the bridge into our area.
Yeah.
Well, cross the bridge up the road a bit, but anyway.
Cross the bridge and quickly through Fife.
Yeah. If anyone not from our area is listening, they'll just think we live outside Edinburgh anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
True. Everything's just outside Edinburgh, isn't it?
How close are you to Edinburgh? Well.
Literally, yeah. I work with a team of English people. That's how far are you from Edinburgh?
An hour. Yeah, that could be in
360
degrees. Like. Yeah. Oh, you live in Berwick? Yeah, that's it. I live in Berwick.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, now we have to, before we finish the episode, we must mention that the best T20 competition name ever has been discovered.
Yeah.
And
George Munsey's playing in it.
Absolutely. No idea for what team. No idea what the scores are from it. We tried to look. The Antigua Observer seems to be the only one covering it, and it just crashes all the time.
Indeed, yeah. So George Munsey is playing in the cool and smooth Antigua T20 Explosion. What a name.
No, it's just cool and smooth T20 Explosion.
The cool and smooth T20 Explosion, but it's in Antigua.
I mean, that is both awesome and dodgy as anything all at the same time.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it's been played at the Coolidge Cricket Ground,
which was the sticky wicket.
The Stanford ground.
Was the sticky wicket the pavilion? Oh, I can't remember.
I don't know. But yeah, the Stanford ground as it was. The infamous Stanford ground. Yeah.
He was cool and smooth. The ECB thought so anyway.
Indeed, yeah.
But
what a great name.
I mean, absolutely. So basically, the 2 and 3 counties cups that exist in this area, no more.
The cool and smooth.
One's cool, one's smooth.
The winners play off in the cool and smooth final.
No. It's the cool and smooth T20 Explosion. That can be the 3 counties. And then it can be like the cool and smooth T20 Fizzle or something. It can be the 2 counties. I suppose you can't steal their name. We'll have to come up with something.
Smooth and cool.
That can be our job for next week, Andrew. We've tasked ourselves that we have to come up with a new name for the 2 and 3 counties cup. So you need to do your homework. I mean, given that the standard of name we're competing against, we're probably best both asking our children what they think, and then they'll come up with something appropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, but good to see George Munsey on the international stage as well, just as an aside.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple of decent players in there. Raheem Cornwall is captain one of the sides. Sheldon Cottrell's playing as well. So, a couple of decent names in the from the West Indian cricket anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, good.
I mean,
good stuff.
Well, High School Corstorphine or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll be gutted because that's pretty much what happened last year when he wasn't there. It all went
was a struggle.
Wrong. So Falkland will be happy, but that's all right.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I think that probably brings us to the end of another episode of the Dibbly Doublers Cricket Podcast.
Excellent. Oh, look at us. We're almost on 45 minutes then, Andrew. Good job, son.
Indeed, exactly. So, as ever, reach out to us on Twitter at DibDobPod. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on
Tell
YouTube.
your ma.
Tell all your pals, your ma, your da, Abdi, and
The neighbour's cat.
the neighbour's cat, indeed. And we'll speak to you again next week.
Bye.